Look, there's Bill himself. Oh, look, they're blocking off parking access. Wish I could zoom with this thing. So now, instead of keeping That's about the pause. I was trying to figure out something. So there's a lawsuit that is public today where they are not allowed to require ID to enter. Now they're restricting access to parking spaces. I agree. Okay, go. Hello. I heard the lovely singing. I can hear it. Oh, I was watching some shady stuff go down over there. Shady stuff. They're blocking part of the parking lot off now.
They're so scary.
Yeah. Exercising our freedom. Dare I say,
That they had interviewed at one point, and they were pissed to find out that one of the physicians where they were like, yeah, and he was just like, what machine did you think I was raging against? Come on, people, yeah. Yeah. got really curious when I no longer had to drive 45 minutes. Wait, okay, it's the office. But yes, I would totally be
You gotta keep going.
Yes. 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 So. And I kept going like back to yeah, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I'm very different people. Yeah, and they told me, I was like, oh, this is like, they ad lib. This sounds like fresh air. Fresh air is the best. I brought my truck back all the time. I would listen to it. Yeah, I listen to it on accept. It was the financial one. Yeah, mine was like oh, yeah, I was just saying that mine is. It's just in. Yeah, I love mine. I know it's better with oh, wow. That's the first thing I do when I go to the website. I gotta clean it. Yeah, yes, on Saturday morning. Yeah, hats off.
Every protest I've ever deal with in this my state police career, there's always been
So is there a policy that says that about the school park property?
there's a designated. Let me know if you need water. Litigation now.
I got water. Hi, we got it on video.
Cannot be left at my home. So we need to take.
It's up to the lawyer.
I got the last half of that.
I got the beginning.
Yeah. I'll make sure I got all of it.
Yeah, I guess you have to turn the other part around. Oh, I told you you couldn't wear that. The For Mike has to go is a protest, and they can't be on this area.
Huh.
Which we know is bullshit. Filming?
Yep. Bye.
Our neighborhood is just safe. We have so many of our own. Isn't that the way it
Because everyone here knows exactly what it is. This is their time now. Everyone knows.
Water's all in that bag.
The meeting hasn't started.
So we just had one individual who was denied their right to have a sign because it mentions Formica's name. And they were told to put it away or go to a designated area. So much for First Amendment.
My favorite are heat vinegar. They're hard to find. I didn't forget.
Your kabasi? I thought it was.
Oh, this is fun.
No, it's not.
There are two cars here,
Scott is amazing.
one there, and I know there's one
They
down
were so
there.
excited about the kabasi, and then it all got ruined by a musical. You wanna? Yes. I mean, virtually, you don't bring
Steph? Dick? I'll be here for a while. Can't take them home.
Are we doing s'mores?
Candy guys, we will not be doing s'mores, but maybe next time we can get a
I might
fire
permit
pit.
that.
All
There's
right.
a designated area for this to be done.
Is there a map?
Superintendent made a decision that everybody's allowed to protest, but there's a designated. So, and we have been doing this. We have been doing this since day one. Since day one, since any type of protesting was being done here, we've always designated it up there. And on the first day, everybody was up there. Now we're
Listen, I'll even go.
okay, thank you.
Can we
We
melt
can
it?
agree to disagree.
Can we melt the
I didn't want
chocolate?
to say
Dip the
anything.
pretzel?
Yes. She said yellow mustard. I was a little like.
I
wouldn't say that. Well, just because it's done, always been done this way, doesn't mean that it needs to continue to do that way.
Whatever needs to
I love
And just because there's a policy doesn't mean it's legally right.
I thought I was.
There are laws that govern protests,
Yeah, the First Amendment.
okay? That doesn't give you the right to be anywhere you want.
It kind of
doesn't.
does.
As long as it's public property.
No, so
This is public property. No, my taxes pay for it's public property.
This is private property. They can
Guys,
designate
we're not doing this right now. We're not doing this, okay?
Mm.
We are not arguing with anyone.
We want to comply
Her,
with the
Alright.
document. that's
her
all.
being here is instrumental to the position that she represents, okay? So she's going to put that in jeopardy and at risk and not be allowed to be here at all. I don't want that. I want anyone who wants to be here and have their voice have the right to be here and have their voice. But if they ruin it for themselves, I can't do anything about it. We're trying to not let her walk down that path. We're trying to give her every bit of latitude that we can to keep her here so that she can be a voice for the party that she represents.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
Illegal, but it's okay.
Yep, we'll see.
But
I just want to make sure I get that clearly.
Go ahead.
So you don't think she's a bad person or anything? I know you don't.
I don't have stuff from the time.
I am,
People have their interests, they have their positions, they have their passions. I respect all of them.
Just in a meeting where one person kind of controls everything that happens in the meeting, they decide You get 30 minutes.
Robin, I'm gonna stay on.
Starting to be repeated, so we're
You
gonna
want the
shut
water
it
out
down.
here?
It's
Well,
not
the
good for
media
you.
got out of control.
Or no, I got
A lot of
but
times.
there's a lot
Sure.
of water.
Yeah, yeah. This is fine.
And there's more in
They
my
could have
coffee.
handled that too, though, by having you step down. They could have him. They could ask him to step down. So he was responsible.
And that was made clear. They did, and he said no, and that's it.
Nobody publicly called for his resignation. Nobody
So-
censured him, and nobody gave him.
But they can't make it.
No, they can't legally make it. But thank you. But they could be vocal about asking, which is what they've been reluctant to do. So I think when she comes to speak, she wants to, no, there are no opposing voices on the board. There's 9 voices, one mind. The only time I ever saw a vote that wasn't 9-0 was about the safety procedures 3 years ago. And that was 6-3.
What I found interesting, I wasn't here in the decision at the last meeting. The lady spoke about the books and how
Yeah.
I found it very interesting.
Yeah, me too. Because did you hear her in the parking lot afterwards?
No, I did not.
She
No, I
said
didn't.
she didn't get the books from the library. She had to order them on Amazon.
Isn't that cool? Well, the library's not right.
The library doesn't have them. You know what I mean?
It's the same. No,
She couldn't get them from the library.
They're the
So she
same
had
book.
to-
Well, of course, because the library's not going to give them to you.
Wait, you think the library is denying, or school libraries are denying
To an adult,
to an adult to
can you
take
sign
out
this
a
book out?
take out a book?
For students. Maybe they didn't. I don't know what the policy is for the library.
Okay.
But she's saying, like, the library has these books, the library has this exact book, and I have to
Couldn't get it.
the same
She,
thing.
no, she
Well,
didn't. She said
what are
this
you
book.
saying? You saying that that
She
book
got it
doesn't
from
exist?
Amazon because she wasn't buying it from the library. It's very disappointing.
I don't think she said. I wasn't there to see her say, but she said these books were in the library.
Sure, and the
It
fact
was
is it
proven
wasn't.
that they were-
They were in the public library.
Yeah,
That doesn't count.
She has an issue with Telford.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
That's
But
not the school
I have.
library.
Actually, they're not anymore. Someone checked them out and never returned
Oh,
it.
maybe that's why she couldn't get
I
it.
have long heard about these books like this in school libraries.
Do you mean when you say books like this? I mean, that was a book. That was what, part of Push. that she
Push,
was
yeah. The one that they turned into the movie. What was the movie called?
Pretty graphic.
Also, the keys
Precious.
Pretty
Precious was the movie, yeah. It was a true story.
So yeah, these are not in elementary school libraries. These are in middle school libraries. High school libraries are a different thing. You've got kids who are 16, 17, 18 years old and needing to read things that they either agree or disagree with, have critical thinking skills. That's one of the things we believe in public education. So this isn't a private school. This isn't a religious school. This is
No,
a
but
public school that educates
and
everyone.
then the upside of that, some people believe that that's upon their family.
If they reads that out loud,
No, if they want them to read, if I want my child to have that book, I go buy it from Amazon.
or
I
check
don't.
it out from a public library.
A public library, okay, but the high school. That's,
Maybe. I don't know if that book was in the high school.
I don't know.
I could see a book with language being in a curriculum for high school students. That's a lot different than
But keep in mind, too, a lot of areas don't have access to a public library. So that school library sometimes serves as the public library for those kids.
in this area we do. I mean, we've got
We're lucky here, yeah. But, you know,
I've always seen public libraries anywhere I've ever lived.
there's some areas that they're harder to get into
Okay, but everything's online. Everything's available on.
to buy, but yeah.
So,
Not everyone has the money to buy a book, though. Not everyone has the money to buy a book necessarily either.
It seems like you're pointing out about personal, like parents' decisions.
well, no, what I was getting to was like there was a lot of argument about like the First Amendment. Okay. And the argument was to support having the books because it's a First Amendment right to free speech right, and if you don't like it, don't read it. So then some people are saying you have a First Amendment right to say some of the things you said, you may not agree with it, but if you don't say it, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. Don't try to bury it. But that's the thing. So that's what I'm saying.
Maybe you should
I
be in that
grapple.
position.
I grapple with myself with like whether or not I think there's hypocrisy in some
Yeah, I
positions. You know, you're going to say like the book is okay to have in the library because it's a freedom of speech issue, and if you don't like it, don't read it.
Yeah, she texted me one night. What was it, a couple nights ago? I don't. It was the night before.
Don't read it.
Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
my kids go to school no matter what. This is our public school.
And they go right, and they don't want to see that book in the library either.
And she was all excited. She's like, "Guess what?"
Caitlin, not to put you on the spot, but we were just talking about the book that you read from Push. Is it true that you had to order it from Amazon, or you couldn't find it? You ordered it from Amazon. That was
You can't have that at the library,
No,
but
you're
it's
still
on the one that was
okay, but it wasn't like it was checked out or something. But it is in the
I
library.
can't check things.
There you go.
So,
Kids can check.
yeah, and
We
so
were
it is part of the
playing-
curriculum, or it's just part of the library. collection.
I don't know how
Oh
many
yeah,
teachers use it.
wonderful. Thank you.
But it's part of the library. Okay, so thank you. Sorry to put you in the spot.
That's what I said. It's like it's a library, but she doesn't have the authority to house.
Hey,
She
not that she doesn't have kids in the district. I got you.
Not because of that, just because no parent can check out high school.
But you could go into the high school library with a kid. See with your kid.
I would like to see you do that.
So
I don't
the
think
first
you
time I
could.
heard
I
about
think we could go in for an event.
Yeah.
For an event, but you can't go in and check out
so I just
with your
heard
kid.
they won't be alone anymore.
Okay, so you didn't check to see if it was in the high school. You just ordered for Amazon.
No, I know that it's in high school. You can check those things online.
And they have it in the high school. That's what you're saying. Push.
Yes, I mean, I submitted it to be evaluated.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I just wanted to see, I have to validate.
I mean, maybe when I submitted it to be evaluated, maybe the librarian took it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Thanks. All right.
Should make sure that book I read last month isn't in the library. Then 1984. Make sure that's not. I should make sure that's not in the library. I don't know if you heard that part I read from it.
No, I did.
Where he's talking about where it's narrating the whole thing, where him and the female character are getting it on, and how he talks about how he wants to rape her and then murder her.
Right.
Probably should put that in the library, I guess. I read that at Indian Valley when I was in 7th grade.
Right.
And I was in the classroom.
Right. And you think that's
Huh? Handmaid's Tale. Yes, that wasn't out when I was in, but yeah,
Yeah, that was Margaret Atwood. You're right. You were young.
that was fairly newer.
I think she feels like should this be something that's available?
Yeah.
There you go.
Or, I mean, there is a difference between juveniles and.
Oh, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
That's
Right. Yeah, because like
No, I don't think you would have that because those things have warnings on them that they're not for anyone under 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's still freedom of speech.
You don't have that in the schools. Public schools can be approved by taxpayers.
Some of these books that have been brought into question actually have graphic illustrations.
Okay, yeah,
Tell us
I bet
how
some
you
of them.
really feel.
But this is the thing. I think your example
No,
is
what
Silo,
I'm-
which is
What I'm saying is, like, could you say, I would like to stop here in our school's library?
Yeah, if it was there, probably. Yeah, you'd be okay with that. Yeah, because there's not a literary merit to it being there that's necessary for education. I think that book Push, the part that she read that shocked everybody, was
There's
about
literary components to the magazine. It's not just pictures.
Okay, but not quite the same as Push. The woman in that story that Caitlin read
Right.
out loud was a victim of an assault.
Yes.
Who was underage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this came at the hands of somebody she trusted.
Was her father?
it was her father. It was her father, and
Father or
then
stepfather?
I think it was her father, and then the part I think she was reading was talking about her daughter that she had with her biological father,
Right.
talking about her assault from him.
She as well. Was assaulted for that
Yep.
when she got older.
Yep.
So sometimes when that's in public library for older people that are maybe still under 18 but are at an age where, smarter people than I have looked at it and said, this is developmental inappropriate. Because somebody reading this might say, this is happening in my life and I have to do something about it.
Even just some music.
I mean,
So that shouldn't be somebody's
I was reading Charles Dickens, like the actual books by 5th grade.
Some of the songs
None of my
radio
classmates were.
graphic as well. I mean, just flat out graphic. And this is just on mainstream media.
So I have this dress that I wore over the weekend.
I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I know that my mom wasn't allowed to listen to Wake Up with Susie when she was a kid. It implied they slept together.
Did it?
Yeah, Wake Up with Susie. We both did fast
Are you
asleep.
kidding?
Yep.
Yeah. I just feel like the book banners in all the 80s movies I grew up
But
with.
do you think Baby It's Cold Outside was a stretch?
Well, I think if I owned that radio station, I would have played it. I like that song.
I think that was a stretch for that one.
I understand. I would have kept playing that one because I think the intent of it was like it was the 1950s. That was how, you were supposed to say no if you were supposed to try.
Sure, yeah.
Back in those days.
So I just informed
People
my
that view it
colleagues
like the kids say view that with
that means all of my 401k money.
Is anybody think the door's open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just enjoy talking to you.
No, I didn't know. Dan's not. Scott Michael.
Michael, nice to
I
meet you. I appreciate
didn't know if anybody was going in.
Well, I just thought you were
I
like
think maybe someone was going next
someplace.
Sorry.
I heard it was. I heard last update was 0-0, but the Mets had
Yeah.
2 innings where they had the bases loaded, and the Phillies had yet to have a hit.
But that's not good. It's not a good start.
Even though they got out of the innings, they still managed to load the bases.
Oh, the
Yeah.
blinds are open this time. The blinds are open.
What?
Well, yeah, I
The
know.
blinds are open.
Ah,
They weren't open last time.
yeah.
But we can.
Well, the sun's setting a little earlier,
Yeah.
and that means it didn't start until 7, right?
Right. It was darker by then. So.
It started by 8. Daylight savings. Can we just get rid of it?
Yeah, that was actually
Can we keep it in the one where it's lighter later?
That's
Keep it forward. Keep it forward.
both meetings.
Well, that's actually the one we're in right now.
But that's because
Yeah, it would not go away.
Yeah.
that sucks. So something like that would become
That's actually in.
Yeah, people run on that.
Because I wanted to.
There are. Yep.
Bush administration extended it by a couple of weeks.
There was an extension.
Yeah.
Sure, Obama.
Yeah. Bush extended it. Obama. It went into effect under Obama.
And then,
So it's Obama's fault.
so to see that, and then now I think it was Ted Cruz who authored the bill to get rid of it altogether.
Yeah.
And they just let it die each time. It has to be reintroduced.
I suppose one or two things that weren't really decided. It's just politics.
Yeah.
Daylight savings is not endorsed. Isn't it a shame?
Yeah. I'm gonna try and get this hooked up to the charger. So.
I really.
Hello. I'm gonna steal your outlet again. I don't know if I did or
I
not.
don't know if you did.
Yeah. I don't know which side's your good side.
Both.
Oh.
Right?
All sides are
All
great.
sides are good.
All sides are good. You know what? I'm going to scoot my table that way. So I don't get traffic.
Oh, I'm gonna send her up behind you. I'm gonna send her up behind you. This one. I don't want to lean over again and plug it in. And all the sports are on one side.
Right. Yeah, I don't get traffic.
Yeah, no, I was gonna try to.
So I accepted and it went on my calendar and then I don't see anything else. Yeah. Oh no, this morning I did. That's when I saw the email in, I was like, I dropped all the stuff off. Let it go.
that's what you want to use, yes. Well, how you want to keep it set in your mind? This is
Oh, okay, so.
because you have more than two cameras. Yes, in this case, you're correct in what you're thinking, but I just wanted to share that. The green is the preview and the red is what's the program model.
Okay, so then alright, so red is the box I want.
Yeah, correct. Red is the camera that is. Yeah, like red record and live. So I know everyone says that though. So yes. Which you can do now. And then you know the other thing is there's some sort of
Right.
Good evening and welcome to committee meeting for operations tonight. First of all, good evening, everyone. I just want to say that I had the opportunity over the weekend to meet a bunch of community, and it was a great weekend, and it's great to hear from everyone. Before we start, why don't we stand and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a reminder, this is a committee meeting. We're going to have presentations. The board will then ask questions or make comments, and then we'll allow the public to make their comments. And remember, please keep to those topics. We did a great job the last time, so just hold that with you. Thank you very much. For this meeting, there's one item on the agenda, and we're going to go over it. We have three construction projects that don't move forward. One is Indian Crest, South Hills, and West Brook. And tonight, there will be a presentation on what we're thinking about doing at Indian Crest. So they'll roll it out tonight and we'll have questions. This is not cast in stone. This is not that we're doing this. This is just the first look of the, scope. Like if you're going to work your house, come in and think about it. This is the wish list. And then you got to comprise it. So that's what's on the agenda for tonight. And Mr. Taylor, who's going to be speaking?
Yeah, so tonight we have Psychologic here, David Starr, who presents. We've been pricing this project, and this is the update of what will be an amendment to current visa contracts we have with Psychologic before the work. So we'll talk about scope of the project, the pricing that they received, and then we will be asking for it to move forward for visa amendment in 2 weeks. So Mr. Starr, if you want to present, great.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm David Spark with Psychologic. And what we're here to talk about tonight is Indian Crest. We have gone out and gotten our pricing for Indian Crest, and I'm going to go through the scope of work and the effort we've done and present not only those costs, but what path forward we'll be looking at. So the agenda will be the summary of the scope of work. I'm actually going to take the scope of work that we put together, and I'm going to do a quick comparison of what the architect has been showing. We're going to show you our cost base on our bids because we've gotten our pricing in. We're going to show you phasing plan and the schedule. And we're also going to finish up with the pricing and the award schedule as how this project can move forward. Now, as we get ready to do that, I want to remind everybody of a few things. We have taken a lot of thought and time, not only in the Psychologic, but as GKO, our architect and engineers, and the school district, looking at what we did at EMC many years ago, what we then did at Franconia, what we did at Union Valley, and we have taken lessons learned so that we had continual improvement in the project process. So in some of those things, we really looked at how much time is everybody involved in the planning. Well, the architect has been looking at this for well over a year. So the planning has been ongoing for quite some time. SiteLogic's been involved for over 10 months now. So we have all been working on this pretty diligently to make sure that we were finding the right scope and working to get to a good cost. Now, one of the other things that we learned was in other buildings that we did, we made selections about what we wanted to do and not do, potentially to avoid costs. And when we got finished with those projects, we looked at some of those selections and said, you know what? We want to make sure we have the option to do the building completely right when we do it. So that's what's being brought forward tonight. Completely right, though, means this. It means if something is at the end of its useful life, it gets replaced. Things that have useful life do not get replaced. So we were able to put together a scope and come in with pricing that we feel came in pretty good. That really takes care of all of those needs so that we're not second guessing ourselves at the end of the project. So when you start to look at the site, which is the next slide, in general, we're talking about replacing the stairs and reconstruction of the site for some stormwater management, relocating the flagpole, some sidewalk replacement work, replacement of parking lot lights. We have also an agreement from PICO to bring gas service to the building, which will save the district many, many dollars over the years, and PICO is doing that at no cost to the district. And we're also maintaining the current site circulation. So when we looked at the summary of the scope of work, which is our next slide for the building, we kind of looked at it in this way, to put it in context. That building has had some limited renovations in 2009. We did put a roof on it a couple of years back. And most of the finishes are 20 to 30 plus years old. So the building, even in the eyes of the Pennsylvania Department of Education, it says 20 years ago and update your building. The building's been maintained very well, and the district has gotten really a lot out of the building. But here we sit at a time that we're looking at everything saying program improvements and updates to the finishes and replacement of the HVAC and electrical system. So as I go down through here, and you can follow me, I'm not going to read word for word, but We're going to reuse the existing mechanical piping system in most cases because we've taken it apart and tested it to make sure that the mains were in good shape. There's no point in ripping things out and replacing them if we don't have to. Branch lines, et cetera, those may need to be replaced. So we have a whole new HVAC system to get new electrical switchgear, new lighting, sound systems, devices at the walls, and electrical panels as well. Plumbing systems, one of the things that we always want to look at as part of our lessons learned was what are the sanitary lines like that are underneath the floors? Are they in bad shape? Do we have to replace them? We camera them in places where they are in bad shape. They get pulled up and replaced. Renovating the auditorium, including seating, lighting, sound, and curtains. Renovating the gym with bleachers, athletic equipment, refinishing the floor. Ceilings, flooring, wall surfaces, casework meaning cabinets throughout. Gutting and renovating the locker rooms and toilet rooms. And of course, we mentioned that the roof was done recently, and we're replacing exterior windows and doors. Now, the next slide shows you is really the exact slide that detail has been here, I think, with a little bit of change from 2 times ago, but this is the scope of work slide that's been in front of the community several times. So as you go down through here, and the best way to understand this when you're thinking about Indian Valley, the floor plan, is that the red areas have a more intense update than the green areas. So the major renovations are listed there: locker rooms, family, consumer science, art rooms, classrooms for life skill and classroom renovations and life skill classroom renovations, music suite, and orchestra and toilet rooms. Then the minor renovations, and this is all in floor 1, is casework in classrooms, gym floor renovations, kitchen equipment and sinks, auditorium seating, elevator replacement. And then there's some overall renovations throughout the building that are over there that we've kind of already gone through. What you're seeing here is the entire building is being touched. It's not just parts of the building, it's the whole building. And for anybody that hasn't been there, it's a sizable building. When you go to the second floor, you see similar thoughts with areas in red getting more renovation and areas in green with less renovation, and architecturally speaking. And so again, renovation of the library, IT support, additional classroom space, splitting out a classroom into MTSS spaces and more toilet room renovation. So there's some programmatic improvement, and there's complete building system upgrades and improvement. And that's all based on how long the system's been in use, what we're getting out of the system, and how well it's working, and the fact that it's really past its useful life. So that should take us to where everybody wants to know the magic information, and that is where the numbers. So when we do a Giza project like this, we are able to put together a cost. At this point, we took our bids about a week ago. We're finalizing those, but we've been able to narrow everything down as we de-scoped our subcontractors, et cetera, to know that the Giza scope itself will not exceed $31,843,707. We were smart in that there were some things that we wanted to take out of Giza and not have underneath SiteLogic, because we didn't need to have that much control over them, and it avoids the bond, it avoids the bond and a little bit of markup, but regardless, it saves money. And we've taken those out, and those scopes of work were being bought under cooperative purchase. Those include auditorium seating, stage curtains, gym bleachers, athletic equipment, the casework, window treatments, library furniture, and appliances. So we are also still working on reducing the costs of that $1.9 million cooperative purchasing contract. And that doesn't necessarily, what happens there is that's something that the board will be asked to approve in the future. In 2 weeks, you'll be here considering the Giza part, because that gets the major loan lead item started for us to start our work in March. But we'll be able to look at cooperative purchase. And Mr. Taylor and I were talking about that potentially in November, or even probably not later than January, but in November or January.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. For those of you that don't know what GIZA is the Guaranteed Energy Savings Agreement. It's a form of construction that is a procurement method that is allowed in Pennsylvania, and there's different requirements about that. One benefit to that is different from public bid. You do a public bid, the bids come in, they're sealed, you go with the lowest bidder, and you have really no control, and you can't go back and negotiate at all after that. You're stuck with whatever that bid is. With Guaranteed Energy Savings Agreement, we take bids and we can solicit, but once those bids come in, we can keep negotiating with those contractors that bid those projects to drive the cost down even more. So right now, that is the low cost for all the projects in that GIZA scope right now. But over the next 2 weeks prior to approval, we're going to continue trying to work those bids down and continue to solicit and get additional bids on top of that. But once again, the public bid comes out, you can't go back. If you get a couple terrible bids, you can't go back and say, well, if you do a little bit more, if we add another person to the mix, you're stuck with that. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. And with that, we pulled down a lot of that cooperative purchasing because, as Mr. Spark said, there's overhead costs, there's bond insurance costs that can easily add another 10% onto that, to those costs. So the point of scope out, we've done everything we can over the last 10 months to try to reduce the cost of this project and maximize the value for taxpayers. So, like we said, the purchasing agreements will bring forward to the board over the next few months. So we have plenty of time to still try to work those down even further as well. And with a lot of the proper purchasing, we're looking at a lot of local vendors too to try to see how we can incorporate those savings to the district there. And proper purchasing, if you were paying attention last month to the ball field, that's how we procured the turf and construction and the lighting for the ball field. You're able to get, maximize your value there and really negotiate well. So one of the things that Mr. Spar mentioned earlier is how we cooperated together as a planning team. When we did Franconia in Indian Valley, we went from hiring an architect to getting the ground in 1 year. And the architect design stuff mostly gets turned over to a site logic or somebody like that to do the work and turn it around. We did differently. We took basically 2 years. We started a year ago with GKR started working on the architectural work and planning. And then last fall, we worked on an RFP to select whoever the construction partners would be. We've used site logic in the past, but we put them up against a number of other people. We interviewed intensely providers and site logic, which shows that for this job and South Hills, we have another partner for West Broad, which you'll hear more about in December. But we really worked hard together with the architects, the construction partners, and the district over the last year to really make the best project possible. So we're really excited as the lessons learned, scoping the sanitary lines. We're all familiar with Indian Valley, how we had to throw roof connect last minute there. So we're trying to avoid those things. And just even a couple months ago, we were looking at costs and everything. It was very scary. So I really applaud the team for really driving down the cost and maximizing value while not reducing the scope of work. So we're really getting the scope of work that was designed by the architects based off of what we need as a district. And the two big things you see in the renovations are the locker rooms and the library. We're really trying to make it similar to what we did at Indian Valley, which is appropriate to make those facilities more purposeful for the way they're designed today. We don't have gym class, 30 kids showering for gym class, or even sports afterwards in middle schools anymore. So really you're maximizing the spaces and redesigning them to get rid of the wasted spaces and making them modern. So, Valley came out beautifully for those who have seen it, right? And so we're looking to do similar things at Crest. So that's what's in the plan right now. I'll let you continue.
So this slide shows some other costs we identified that will be in front of the board for future commitment. We have asbestos abatement, and before we kind of get too far on that, it's a lot like at Franconia and at Indian Valley where we have flooring, mastic, and glue behind chalkboards, and some caulking. So none of what's there now is dangerous or friable, but when you do a construction project like this, and you work on those areas, whether it's taking off boards, taking the windows out where the caulking is, or replacing the floors, you're going to do that abatement. So that abatement is shown there at $435,610. Keep that estimate from your hazardous material consultant. And that'll be a public bid. And we've set aside a little bit of money for furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And we also set aside builder's risk insurance because typically for our projects, it's out of the school district purchase a rider on their current insurance program for the building. So importantly, and we've gone through these things, the project includes the scope that completes the building in a way where it replaces what is due for replacement. Whether it's systems, casework, flooring, et cetera, that's included in the scope, included in those numbers that we showed. As Mr. Taylor said, we did not reduce the cost by taking out scope that we didn't need. There were times during the project that we put our heads together and said, there's some scope here that we really don't need that, and it came out of the design. And so it wasn't about designing whatever we wanted and pricing whatever we wanted. We took many hundreds of thousands of dollars of scope out to make sure that we were really only at what we needed to do to accomplish the goals that we talked about. Talked about the sanitary sewer investigation. If you saw our offices, you'd see one of our offices has all sorts of piping that we actually cut out and replaced and examined to make sure that that piping was able to be reused. So we saved an awful lot of money in not replacing mechanical piping. And again, as Mr. Taylor said, we have opportunities to continue to reduce costs. The next slide shows the phasing plan. And what you'll see, you won't be able to read it down the left side, but effectively what it is we start in March 2025, we go through 2 years to February 2027, and 8 phases. Now, we have worked very hard with Mr. Ball and with Mr. Taylor and with the principal to make sure that we could set those phases up, that they were long enough in duration, that they made sense for contractors to price and bid, and that they were workable. So we feel really good about the phasing plan that we set up and how we've got it set up and priced this way. But it will be for 2 full years. Finally is our slide related to the final schedule really to get everything rolling. So today we have our board review, and Mr. Taylor has in his hands a 10-day notice and some reporting and things that go along with when you do this type of procurement method. There's a notice that gets put out that says the board may consider this on October 24th. That gets published, and there's some reporting that goes along with that. That's all set up and ready to go so that the board can consider the GIZA on the October 24th board agenda. Finally, again, as I said, we start construction March 1, 2025, and wrap that up by February 28th, 2027.
And we've been talking for well over a year. We've done multiple presentations on Crest, Southwest West Broad, and we've been saying that we're planning to start on project summer 2025. And that was been the goal all along. As we're trying to maximize the value in these projects, phasing and starting a little bit earlier for March 1st actually was a cost savings for the contractors, with the timing and everything, and then avoiding having to wait to do another summer. So, once again, I commend the team, SiteLogic and our architects at GKO for helping find those cost savings numbers. So, Bill, we have 3 questions.
No. What happens if you don't approve on the 24th and push it back a month?
I have to ask our folks to hold pricing for a month if they will hold it. I think the scope of work in the GIZA was, I know that there's been some things that the district talked about. Do we want this or do we want that? I think what's in the GIZA is mostly those building systems that were in dire need and potentially things that you would consider, whether they're architectural casework, et cetera, would be in the cooperative purchase. But if you wait on that, have to ask him a little bit pricing.
What that's leading to is that when we did a walk with a couple months ago, there were many board members that we thought we could get a breakdown and a detailed script. I have nothing. I have a $31 million scope. I don't know what we're doing. I don't have a breakdown of what mechanicals, what floors, what's what. And we were very specific when we did the walkthrough that we were going to need a breakdown to see the numbers. Just, $31 million, I don't think any of us can sit up here and say, no, what we're getting, $31 million without scope. and had a chance to digest it, we walked in, there were lots of questions from the drawings, the architect, and that we thought would be brought to us, and we get this tonight. You know, you guys did a great job. Don't, you know, I'm always the stick in the mud here, but knowing what I know here, I got to see what we're doing. And I think my fellow board members all agree that we need to see the scope and a breakdown of, you know, what's mechanical, what's flooring, we got to see the numbers. And I thought we would get that before tonight's meeting. There's lots of questions, you know, and I'm just being come out and I'm going to tell you how I feel. So questions like, you know, why are we relocating the flagpole, you know, replacing the parking lot lights? Is it a 2-pipe system or 4-pipe system? I can go on for a long time tonight, but I don't want to bore the public, but I need more information in order to make a $31 million decision.
So I can help with some of that information for you. SiteLogic has provided the administration document, and the reason why it hasn't been shared yet is we're still working on the numbers, but right now.
I don't mean to interrupt you. We need to see it. I don't want to just sit here and talk. I want to see it so we all can look at it and understand it. Okay, I don't want to say you tell me it's, you know, $10 million for the HVAC. I want to see the breakdown of the project and this so we all can understand it. If I'm not understanding it, and I'm the construction guy, I think half my board members here, they're looking at me to my profession that you guys over the last 20 years have done. And I won't mean to become hard tonight, but this is what we weren't expecting this. We were expecting a lot more than a $31 million number. And then telling me that on October 24th that I have to approve it.
Mr. Brown, if you let me share the information I have.
Okay.
Mr. Sparks authorized me to share the sheet with you that they just finalized today with these numbers. And it's 2 numbers. It has a breakdown of all the different trades, all the bids. It shows the low bid, which we've summed up the total price, and then it shows if we took the next lowest bid on every item, would actually be over $4 million more. We can share this document with you so you can see the lowest and second lowest bid for all the trades. So you can see exactly what the breakdown is. And the scope we've talked about 3 times for this building over the last 9 months. So if we want to discuss the scope, so I can give you those numbers tonight. We're not like I said, there's no point reading them all right now publicly, but it's not because they're still negotiating the bids, but we can share that with you.
I understand about the numbers. It's not the numbers that I'm concerned with. You know, if you had 6 numbers for HVAC or whatever, it's the scope. We were very specific when we walked this, and I'll bring a couple points up. Do we need to replace the floors? What's the flooring number? What's the casework number? You know, what's it cost for putting that window in the building? There's a lot. What about the railings going up the stair tower? I can go on and on, but I have nothing in front of me.
David?
Yes, sir.
Based on what Mr. Brown was asking for, I know some numbers. So we push this to November's committee for an update. Provide more details. What is the impact?
The impact of the cost increase from subcontractors. That's the only.
You said previously we could probably get maybe some sort of no cost increase type guarantee.
What happened? I can't volunteer to hold their numbers. When we were looking at the schedule this way for quite some time, and when we have been here, we have witnessed the scope being presented by the architect. So I apologize, Mr. Brown, I wasn't here to present all the detail of the scope tonight. I was not aware of it. That wasn't my intention, because we've been through that. And I understand the question, I understand exactly what it is that you're interested in. And I think maybe what you're interested in, you could understand that in a couple hours, and sit down and real quick. But it's not, we haven't done that typically in the world at quite that level. So I wasn't prepared to do it that way based on the things that we've done before. And I apologize to you for that.
But no, it's, David, thank you for your input. We weren't given, like you said, we don't have to go over every number, but we had nothing. I have a $31 million number. And they think the public out there is going to, they want to know what we're getting for $31 million. It's a lot of money, you know, and you also have to understand that when we went from the original KBCA, you know, what we're going to do there, we go, you know, and this project is doubled in size.
Those studies, we know were faulty.
Well,
for many reasons.
I'm not blaming anybody, but I just, when we did, we walked with the architect, and we brought up lots of issues. And we thought we would, and nobody's come back to us since that meeting. So that's one of the things, you guys all did a good job.
Here's my recommendation, okay? Let's get more detailed information to the board and to Michael and the administration. And we will have a follow-up to this presentation. We don't have to do this whole thing again, but at the November committee meeting. The one thing you should know is our board meeting for November is earlier than normal. So it's not typical fourth Thursday, because that week we celebrating Thanksgiving here. So we can move this to the November committee as a follow-up, and between now and then, probably sooner rather than later, the board will have more detailed information. Correct?
I understand what you're asking me to answer.
And as the chair, to my fellow board members, Nick, you okay?
Basically, what Mr. Bond is asking is, and what I'd like to see is pretty much a line item. Flooring costs, as you said, cabinet work costs, that type of thing. And along with that, we can get a 10-year projection on maintenance items that are going to come up. Because if we are going to go 31, 33 million, I would like to see what our future costs are going to be.
For this building.
For each building throughout the district.
For each building. For this building.
No. Our 10-year plan for maintenance costs. You know, we have that projection. I know we have 5 years, but if we can see a projection for 10 years as to what's going to be taking place. High school is 15 years, so what's coming up there for replacement, those types of things. Just so we know what our expenses are going to be down the road.
So an updated facilities plan.
Yes.
So that won't be for another.
No.
That will probably take one.
Okay. Just.
We can do our best.
Yeah, just engage with it. All right, thank you.
Real quick, just so we have the appropriate understanding, we're delaying this month. We were going to present South Hills in November and West Front in December. We're pushing those all back a month. Or in November, we're presenting both South Hills and.
Present the both, but I just learn what you learned from tonight, that don't bring those the same way you brought tonight. And I'm not, don't take
I'm
this.
sorry, I brought it to everybody in the valley 2 years ago, so we can imagine.
No, we had lots of meetings and we walked with the architect. We had a very detailed scope.
We'll get you the one. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. He's in construction, he's having an issue with it. So we need that feature. One of the examples of it is when we walk through the school, we're in an English class and there's probably about 30 cabinets on the wall. Like, why do they need 30 cabinets in this digital world? I know they used to keep books there, but we didn't need those. And things like that, you know, where we could, and that video that we're gonna put in the one, we absolutely have to have that. Maybe, but it depends on the cost. But that's gonna be $52,000, I say now, just do the outside stuff out. It depends what the cost is.
Right.
So that's the kind of things we really want to say, and just detail it out. And I like the whole plan, we want to make sure the cost is what we get.
We will get together and try this out. We may need an extra operations meeting. Okay.
Okay.
We will do all the next building. Sure.
Yeah, I also have a question. So on slide 7, you give an abatement estimate, which is very precise. So it's an estimate. Certain assumptions went into that estimate, and I would prefer a minimum maximum, a range, rather than having a specific price.
We can ask the consultant for that range, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Again, putting something like this together, I can only imagine how much time it takes and everything. But I'm sure you'll be able to pull everything together within the next month. It's interesting because I kind of had the same question. Like on page 3, it said, you know, we're replacing 2.5 by equipment. You know, and so it's kind of the same thing. Like, what did that even mean? Is that the nets? Is that the back? Is it, you know, like, it's just a little more detail. And so we're talking about how the school has kind of like lived this life for 20 or 30 years, right, with some of these things. How long are we expecting, what do you think what should we expect to get out of the equipment that we're putting into the school now, considering it's being maintained as well as we did in the past? That allowed us to get some extra time. And kind of exactly what Nick was saying. So I was like, I'd like to know when we're going to be looking, you know, how long is this $32 million? What should we expect to get out of it? You know, how much longevity should we get out of these upgrades?
Yeah, I've actually done that in other projects and happy to do that for you.
And it's the same thing you were saying, abatement. So we're paying $500,000 for abatement, potentially. I'm assuming that the stuff we're using now is not going to have abatement the next time we construction.
Not unless they decide that something we're using now is harmful in the future, but we're not aware of that.
You have no idea what they're going to do 20 years ago.
No, sir, I don't.
I'm saying that seriously. Because we did, I mean, you know, when you put buried stuff in a landfill 40 years ago, and you still get charged 40 years later to do it, the government tells you to do something, I guess you have to do it. So don't think that this number for abatement 20 years from now, which I won't do it. So please, don't say.
No, I think it's been asked and answered. Just a clarification for Mr. Braccio. We did the KCBA study, and I agree that probably wasn't the best study, regardless. But just so we're on the same page expectation-wise, we are not expecting the administration to come back with a 10-year mechanical study, correct? Because what we're talking about really is mechanical longevity, roof longevity, structural, anything like we've done at Brick and Bridge, et cetera. I don't think that's a one-month turn. If you brought that to me next month, I would not be comfortable with those numbers. That would be kind of a little conflicting windage going on. So just so we're on the same page, that's a multi-month effort. Is that the correct expectation, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, what we're looking for, you know, in the infrastructure, we have the 5-year look ahead. So I'll just look at examples again, is that the chiller in the high school, we're at 15 years, the rooftop units may need to be replaced in 3 years from now. So we have that 5 years, so we know how much money we're spending. I think Mr. Boccia just wants to go 10 years. Right? Right. Yeah, so we're 5 years now, we just roll over, okay, year 6, maybe that would be, and again, don't hold me guys, I'm just throwing an example out there, that a roof at a school needs to be done. You know, so, you know, we're looking out at a 10-year look.
Correct. Given November is a shorter month than the holiday, though, as a board member, I'm not expecting a fairly strong study in a month's time.
I think we're mostly concerned is the numbers and we're working towards the 10-year. Okay.
Correct. I'm not looking for hard numbers. I'm looking for aspects that would need to be done. the children. I'm not sure which roof would be the oldest, we've done several already, but the next roof that would have to be replaced when? Not looking for a number associated with that, just life expectancy as to what we already have. Yes.
And I think you have most of that. You have a good idea what we
Yeah, I think we have mechanicals at the high school, et cetera, so I'm sure we can all.
And I think Mr. Bracio's not asking for numbers, he's just saying, okay, you know, year 7, this, it's just a list of items that could be potential. We're not looking for numbers that are 5. Is that, you know, what's 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10 is what's on the agenda, you know, what don't we look at that we looking for costs. Okay, sorry, I didn't forget you.
No, I know when we toured the school over the summer, I mean, it was hot, it was like 90-something degrees. And it worked really hard to save the HVAC for as long as you can, so I know, but when I remember going out and looking at the unit, we had line items of every single thing that they had planned on doing, and I remember, Bill, especially you questioned so much of it. Even certain cabinets in some classrooms, like they were fine, no need to replace some of them. So yeah, I was expecting too, okay, we reorganized this, we fixed it, and here's what we're doing. And I think some of the gym stuff was fine, but yeah, a lot that needed to go. The school's old, it's not falling apart though, but I definitely think seeing more line items, getting an idea, yeah, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Duffy, anything else?
Just for the gas, we talked about that, and again, line items great. What are we gonna save by using gas? And I know there's an average, we have no, we don't have a crystal ball of what gas.
Well, we do have, I mean, it's part of the geyser, it's part of the geyser.
Yeah.
So I can get you that calculation.
Because that's a big savings, I'd love the public to know what that savings is when you go to put natural gas in.
Again, you can dual fuel, correct? So it's oil and natural gas. Either one can be used on boilers.
Because if you're primarily going to use, your calculation is going to be based on using natural gas, given the pricing that it is.
Okay, so we're not doing a dual fuel, it's one or the other.
I think it does.
Yeah, more than it's natural gas only.
Yeah.
Because of the efficiency. The efficiency is drastically higher with a single, with natural gas.
Okay. And I can give you the savings.
Is it 2 pipe or more pipe? It's a 4. Okay. I got too many schools running around upstairs. I'm not really hard.
So when you say not to exceed, and 31 million, change or whatever it is, the likelihood, I'm going to ask this question, probably the same question I've asked every time that we do a building project with change orders. We've done a pretty good job, better than I think since I've been on the board, knowing what to expect, lessons learned. So I do appreciate that. But do you foresee, what areas do you foresee a possible change order if it is? You don't have to tell me now.
Well, I'll be direct. The areas that there will possibly be a change order is an area where the district says, I want to do something different. And not just a little bit, but markedly different. And I say that because of all the lessons learned that we had, and because the scope is so much like the other buildings we did in getting parity, that we were able to look at everything and say, we knew that was an issue, that was an issue, that was an issue. It's included in the scope. So my answer is, it's something that you're going to want different, I believe. That's the biggest one. Thank you.
Okay.
Just a question that, currently we have a diesel backup generator there. Is that going to be changed to natural gas or it's going to remain diesel? Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Braun, what was the date for the meeting in November? 15. Thank you.
Danny, you can always call me. I'll come spend hours in your office if I have to.
Well, I want to make sure that I do want to make sure that you know everything's on it.
It's all right. I will reach out to the public. I don't know if you have any questions. Okay. We'll just take one at a time. Now, again, agenda, what we just talked about, thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Yost. This is the first I'm hearing about this project, and I'm wondering, after hearing about a $31 million budget, I didn't hear the word safety brought up at all. So I'm wondering, in the scope of work, are we adding anything to the schools to improve the safety of the students? So we're talking intruders, we're adding natural gas, what are we adding to monitor the gas that's going to be in the schools?
There's a whole.
Windows, anything?
Yeah, the windows are getting replaced. We actually right now have, does the office get changed a little bit? We're entering with that. That's what.
Yeah, we already have.
The secure desk is all done. We've done it many, many years ago. We've done that. You know, I don't know without the scope, but safety of the children is always first. You know, that's when we do renovations. You know, it's bringing. That's why the locker rooms are being updated, because you know they're just outdated, and then the public restrooms all being updated because they're that old.
Has there been any research into what's new and available these days to prevent intruders or to have more better locking doors? I know there's now security systems that can come with teachers' badges that we just heard about in Georgia. So
Yeah,
have we looked into all of those?
we're always reviewing the latest to see where it fits in our organization. But Damien, is there anything specific you want to add about safe schools?
When it comes to safe schools, the architect has been looking at that as we've gone through all of the different schools. So any change that makes some sense to do in one school that actually without changing over the entire system of the school gets integrated. So this particular project has different part access, it has cameras. So there isn't some dramatic change to what Southerton's been doing on the whole for school safety because they've been doing a good job with it. But then as we do more work and we work in buildings, if there was a corridor, for example, that didn't have good visual availability to a camera, the camera got out. If there was an upgrade to the card system or something like that, that gets incorporated. So it's the incremental things, not the things that are wholly different, because Southerton has been hitting the mark with that effort for safety and security.
Just to add to that, Mrs. Jones, we participated in the available grants that are through PCC Live, and we have almost 400,000 grants currently, and a lot of that's being used for upgrading camera systems. We have a district-wide radio system that can be all 49 square miles. We all have radios. I have one. We're constantly looking at the scope of the grants to see how we can continue to upgrade our facilities and also programs.
David, could you
That's outside the scope of this, every year.
Since we all send our kids here, could you explain the role of the architects in this as well? Specifically, when we did the secure vestibules, we had taken the 3M materials to the windows, et cetera, but the role of an architect to answer the question. The architect is also responsible to make sure that we are compliant, not only from an ADA perspective, from a fire and life safety perspective, code upgrades, fire alarm system upgrades, gas detection, so on and so forth. So could you explain that and explain how that's
Sure.
built into the
You
plan?
did a good job getting started, I can tell you that. So, the architect, Joshua King O'Rourke, has designed and has had responsibility for the design and the scoping of this since, well, for over a year now. So, as they have done with Franconia and with Indian Valley, they've met with the district, they've done the design work, they've suggested the upgrade, we've discussed what upgrades with the administration should or shouldn't be in the design, should or shouldn't get priced, and that includes code. It includes the safety. I think you mentioned about what happens when you have gas in the building versus don't have gas in the building. So it's all the code that goes with that. It's an analysis of what do we need for fire safety? What do we need for egress? Are we meeting all that stuff? So the architect has done all that. In fact, we can't get building permits until we can show that to the municipality and they say, yes, this meets all of our codes and we're fine. So that is the architectural one, as I said, Mr. Keith hit that really well to start off with. So GKO has been doing that with their engineer through the whole process. We have had the role of being able to offer ideas for cost reduction, and offer ideas for how we procure different scopes to really get the best pricing, and really to get as much into the building as we can to get the best value for the dollars of the taxpayers of Southampton. And that's why I mentioned, we did go through an exercise where hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential items came out because we looked at them and said, this isn't a need. This is a want that's not necessary, and it got moved out. So I hope that maybe answers.
It helps. I think it's just helping to use this question, but thank you for covering that.
So with all due respect, code is bare minimum. We have to do code, like that is, we have to do that. So that's great, we're following the code to build a building. But I think for parents who have children who actually go to this school and these schools, it would be really helpful for us to see a line item of what are we doing, what money are we putting into the schools to make sure our kids come home. Because ultimately that's unfortunately the world we live in. And so I'd like to see that specifically. 31 million, a lot.
Thank you. We take that into
I'm not familiar with this system and how this whole process plays out, but we're hearing that population growth is like slowing, and so I'm just wondering, how do you determine, as you're deciding to add classroom space and things like that, how do you determine expansion of the space and the cost to do that? Do you have any idea of what enrollment looks like 5 years out, 10 years out in that building that would warrant whether or not you need more classroom space or?
We're not adding, I'll answer your question. We're not adding classroom space.
I thought one of the slides had some
We're
additional classrooms.
repurposing some space.
Okay.
Not adding, there's no addition.
There's no addition.
Oh,
That's
gotcha.
correct.
You're repurposing.
Yeah, and we monitor enrollments, and we did a study through the county just a couple of years ago. Birth rates are down in the community, birth rates are down across the country. And that is definitely impacting our schools. Certain schools more than others. So every year we look at, do we need to redistrict, do we need to make a small change here? So that's always constantly under review, but we are not adding classroom space. We're repurposing.
Do we know that Christ is going to be, over the next, based on your elementary school enrollment, you know which schools and which kids should be going into Christ? What does the enrollment look like? Is it going to be going up over the next few years, or is it going to?
Pretty much stay around where it is right now. That's what it shows.
Okay.
EMC's pretty almost steady at the same. Franconia is pretty steady. And West Broad has some growth actually in that community because the development goes in.
So I have a specific question, and you might not be able to answer this because without having the full story. Because, so, correct me if I'm wrong, but Valley, the reason the full roof was not included was because we thought we could get more time out of it. It was 3 or 4 years, right?
This roof was just done 3 years ago.
I thought you said 2009.
No, there were renovations done in 2009, I think, to the deck area, but 2 to 3 years ago, we finished.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying the roof was done in 2009.
No.
Is it not like the same timing?
We learned from our mistakes.
Got it.
No, we're good. Yes, sir.
Just to add to that question, the HVAC, is it going to be on the roof or is it a different location? One of the things we learned in Valley is when they replaced all that heavy equipment, that's where we found the problems with the roof. And we were told the roof has more life cycle, so we don't want to repeat.
Now we don't. And we'll do everything we can to repeat that. Damien?
There is rooftop equipment, but I think for the most part it goes back where most of the other new penetrations. I'm not aware of any. So we protect the roof is 2 years new. So we protect the roof and we're not looking to have, we don't expect to have any of those types of issues. Again, back to the lessons on it.
Well, the contractors will be held accountable.
Absolutely.
For the roof.
Yes.
So it's going to be their cost if we have roof problems.
Yes, sir. And the roof warranty, the folks that put that, the way that roof was installed, we are insuring that warranty is in place after the work is done.
And then you have to understand, he was the guy we had put the roof on. Yes, he was one of the visa that.
Sorry.
So no, give me a second. We used the visa to do the new roof. So Danny is very aware of the roof for this project. So
So a follow-up question too, the mechanical connections. So I know they replaced some of the AC in the valley, if there was problems with connections, from the original, that they were set up wrong. We checked those, as we're putting new equipment in to make sure that we're not gonna have that problem as well.
We won't have a problem with connectivity. If we have some problem with connectivity, we will solve it at all costs. But I'm not expecting that we will, because we literally took that building apart to make sure we understood it for this, as I alluded to the bike.
Okay.
I'm going to keep on the thread. So can you tell us that the company that was involved with the work in Valley is not going to be employed by the
Which work at Indian Valley?
The roof work, the destroyed roof, the HVAC.
One and eight.
Because I was told directly that that's what the problem is. So the roof is 3 years old, and we want to preserve the warranty, as you just mentioned.
Well, I'm going to have
Hold on. How do we make sure that we're getting high-quality workers that happen to be the lowest bid?
Well, a couple of things. The roof condition, as it was, when the last mechanical contractor went up there, was not in good condition. It was not in the shape that was represented in the reports that we all had that led the decision to not do that roof. So, when those mechanical contractors got up there around that equipment, plywood and additional insulation under the plywood wasn't going to save that roof. That being said, under this project, we are responsible for maintaining that roof, as is the mechanical contractor getting up there. It's written into the documents. It's in the contract. And on top of it being in the contract, when we de-scope the contractor to make sure that they've got everything when they're the low bidder, it's one of the things that we talk about. So
are they held contractually obligated to have quality in their work?
That man will hold me to it, and we will hold everybody else to it. And
that didn't happen.
The architect will as well.
So my question kind of builds on her comment and something that you said, Mr. Brown. I would like to see that breakdown too. I didn't see this presentation on the website today, so I don't know if that can get online, but when that documentation is in your hands, will that be available for everyone else to see that breakdown? Because I think a lot of people would like to know what we're paying for specifically.
So it'll be brought forward at the next committee meeting, which will be a depth, you guys all see it, because that gets hashed out here before we move it to for approval. So we will, as you see, we'll be new leads.
So
yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm here tonight because I saw that we were going to approve.
My question wasn't answered.
$31 million in expenditure. And the only two numbers we saw I was able to get was the 31 million and almost 2 million different charges. And I'm kind of surprised to find out that that's all the board had to deal with. And not very much more. Now, I applaud you for bringing that up and applying a little pressure to get more information. And I'm looking forward to seeing what is made available to the public before the board actually moves on that.
That's what I've been construction expert 19 years ago. That's do my job. Thank you.
That didn't fully answer my question.
Okay. Well, okay.
I realize that this is not about the money part of it, which is very important, but our kids were displaced out of their classrooms with like trash cans and funnels, and like maybe it looked fun for a day or two,
but it happened constantly. It was like an episode of Mousetrap in the fire room, you know? So I just hope that if it's the lowest bid, that you are finding people who are going to make sure quality is of a concern. Because our kids shouldn't be sitting in classrooms because they can't use their brand new classrooms that we just paid millions of dollars and whatever for them to have.
I agree with you. This is a new roof we're working on, so.
I know, but
understand.
I want to acknowledge that all of our children were affected by it. It's not just a dollar amount.
Right,
Although, to add to that, even that was a dollar amount because there was new equipment that was ruined because of what happened with the leak. So, yeah, I mean, it just, and last year when I asked Mr. Taylor who was gonna be held accountable for this, and I said, you know, as a homeowner, if there was somebody working on a job on my roof and this, anything remotely like this happened, I'd be damn sure somebody was gonna pay for that. And now you're saying, oh, yes, they're gonna be held responsible, but like Paul said, they weren't, as far as we know, nothing, when we were told, yes, that wasn't gonna be discussed with the public. So was someone held responsible for that last year, and how do we know that it's gonna happen?
We're going off the topic. I understand where you're sitting there. I'm not trying to shut you down, just that it was an old roof. There was mistakes were made, and workers were on an old roof that we didn't, you know, and things were fixed. And
So who was held responsible for that?
You know, I will get you an answer. Okay. I can't still say, I understand what you're saying, well, my roof went out or broke something, and I had to replace a dining table. Who paid for it?
Right, and I understand, you know, when he said that, like, it wasn't necessarily, maybe it wasn't the HVAC guys, it wasn't, because the roof wasn't, well, then the person who gave us those specs on the roof should be held accountable.
It's not the specs, it was just, that the roof was.
He just said that.
The life expectancy of the roof was in worse shape than the way it's been thought. Nobody.
Previous architect gave us that information. And
No,
it's not as black and white. There's a lot in between.
So
I can hear, anybody said it?
This is a lot of money.
Let me finish. There's a lot in between what happens, and I agree with your frustration. And this roof is much newer, incredibly much newer, and it should definitely handle the new HVAC units, and Mr. Spar will make sure that happens. There are all I will hold it. Thank you.
I just want to bring up that, that same concept is at work evidently in this estimate, that if something has useful life remaining, it's not going to be replaced. That previous project, the roof was deemed to have useful life remaining. That was wrong. So those decisions that something has useful life remaining and it's not going to be replaced, does each of those decisions have the responsibility that if it's an error, the contractor will cover the cost of that error?
So the roof's a little
Answer
different.
tonight, but just going along here.
The roof's a little different.
I'm not talking about the roof, I'm talking about everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to everything. So the roof that you're making comparison to, which is perfect. In the previous study, the district was informed, you don't have to touch the roof. The district took that study information, and we didn't have to room to work on that study. Took that study information and said, okay, we're gonna wait on that roof. The study was inaccurate. One of the lessons learned that we took for Indian Crest was to say, we're looking at everything in depth. Now, we know that the roof is already replaced, but we looked in depth at things that we couldn't see, like the mechanical piping. As I said, I have an office full of pieces of mechanical piping that we cut apart to make sure that it was in good shape. And with the exception of some condensate returns, which we would always replace anyway, it was really, really good. So there wasn't a question about that. The sanitary sewer lines, camera, so that we understood that. So we have taken the lesson learned, I think, that you're talking about. Did we rely on another studies? No. We went and looked at everything on our own because we were concerned about exactly what you're concerned about.
Which is okay, there was a reason why I asked if there are going to be any change orders. Every question you all asked, for that reason. Okay? I We have your concerns, we understand that. And appreciate the comments, but we have to move forward. We've been told that for lessons learned, we have contracts, and we will assure you it'll get done, okay? So, you know, when we get the numbers, we will present them, and we'll move forward from here. Okay. 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 Okay.
Yes, oh, okay. Considering that the library is a major part of this renovation and having to in the valleys, what is your vision for the library, and does it include books?
I think most of your answers and questions, when we see the scope, more detail, will probably answer a lot of your questions.
Will there be books in the
Yeah, yes, there will be books in the library, yes. Yeah.
Very, just since it was mentioned.
That's right.
The tactile experience of reading the book with those children's stamina, I know you know this. And we all need a break from the screen sometimes, so please, storage spaces for books need to be there. That's something I have to keep.
I hear you, but we'll try to roll that, you'll see, you'll be able to see those like that, okay? This was informational, and like I said, I'm not trying to, and I don't want to shut anything down, but I think you'll get a lot more information at the next meeting.
There will be books.
Thanks.
I just have a question while you're going to be doing construction and walls are going to be open, but have you guys looked into the technological upgrades, like for our computer, for our video surveillance?
IT part.
Yeah,
It's
like
their part.
infrastructure.
Yeah, I see the part as part of the construction fee.
Okay, so it's all
Right.
redone, and all that, so.
Okay. With that,
Got one more.
okay.
Because I don't feel like my answer was, my question was properly answered. When can we expect to see what you see so we know before the meeting? So we can come to you with further questions.
I can't answer that just this moment. Hope the next committee meeting.
Like, well, say like you get it tomorrow, for example. We expect like within like a reasonable time?
We won't get it tomorrow.
I'm I get that. I'm saying
We won't
like,
get it tomorrow.
I'm just saying,
We'll get it probably a couple days before the meeting.
can we get it,
If we're lucky, just
Okay.
because of the work that goes into it.
maybe, yeah, can we try to get it sooner?
This
That's my
work
hope.
is detailed work, it's not done overnight.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming out. Next meeting will be a little more depth, and thank you. Have a good night.
What? Us? No kidding, where we at now? Okay.